Hi there, everybody. Um, okay, today is the 18th of August. It's a Wednesday. It's around about 1 o'clock here. And I'm pretty sure that I've got COVID. So, what I thought I'm going to do is over the next couple of days, just record the experience and put it out there. Who knows where it's going to go? Uh, and it's kind of interesting to see. Okay, so just a bit of background, I think, maybe about myself. Okay, in terms of COVID, I've been watching this thing from the beginning, as many people must have. Um, in fact, the first time that I realized that there was actually something going down, um, I went to a party at my friend Martin's house. Now, Martin has epic parties. It's the kind of thing you do not miss that party. He has, you know, maybe two a year, bunch of cool people. It's kind of like an all night thing. Um, and, I just love it because I meet new people. Now, I've sort of got to know a lot of the guys and girls in his group. And, there's some relationships there. Um, it tends to be quite intense as an experience. Okay. So anyway, the one guy that I have met there a couple of times, he and I have had cool chats because he's an ex bodybuilder. So he doesn't do it anymore. He told me that bodybuilding was his life at one point. It was just like all consuming. He's had some injuries and he hadn't been able to continue. But, we could bond over that. Not that I do bodybuilding, but I understand that physical culture. And anyway, he's an interesting guy. He does, from what I understand, he does import export. And he was saying at the time, and so it was a Valentine's party, so it was mid-Feb 2020. And he was saying at the time that they were starting to experience delays in container shipments out of China. And obviously, China is huge in terms of container shipments. And that's the point where he was saying, well, there's something going down. And I mean, that's big because it's affecting shipments all over the world. So obviously that was, and I mean, there were reports already flying about a little bit about some kind of illness, some kind of contagious illness. But I guess, within 4 to 6 weeks, it was out there. We moved into lockdown. Um, we we our family kind of relished it. We the kids adapted well. I guess we're a bunch of introverts. I've been working at home. I'm a software developer. I've been doing that for a number of years now. So it really wasn't much of a shift for me. We just had the kids around. Um, they kind of shifted to online schooling eventually. Like I said, we all introverts, kind of nerdy people. So it wasn't difficult. The wonderful thing was that my partner, Haley, who was working at Discovery in Santon at the time, uh, it meant that she was at home and she didn't have to go through the daily commute both to and from work. She used to get up at was normally on the road by 5:30 in the morning so that she could pick up kids from school, see Scarlet's ballet, that kind of thing in the afternoon. So that was her kind of schedule. It's a bit demanding. So with that gone, of course, things were hunky-dory. And we kind of went through that period, everything cool. Last year, December, we booked a holiday down on the south coast, and obviously that was mid-December. And when we flew down, it was kind of the beginning of the so-called second wave of the virus. I mean, the day that we got there was a public holiday, and the beaches had been closed. I mean, like the craziness of that. Okay, but anyway, so we were down for a week, had a really brilliant holiday, loved it hugely. Came back, everything cool. And kind of it's continued. So 2021 has been more of the same. Kids back at school normally. There have been times where the school has said, wait a minute, there's just been, the circumstances dictate, like maybe there's been a rise of cases, that the school just decides, well, we're going to close down for a week, or there's certain grades that they move to online learning. So it's become quite a easy routine. Maybe the other thing that I should explain is where I live. So I live in Johannesburg, South Africa. Joburg's a huge city. It's like extensive, probably about 5-6 million people living in and around Joburg. The province in South Africa is Gauteng. And about 2 months ago, I guess, was the beginning of the so-called third wave, which was predominantly this Delta variant of the virus. At this point, we over the peak of the Delta variant. There has been a bit of a relaxation in some of the rules. The government's gone through these periods where they just ban alcohol sales. And that's kind of through the more through the periods where there's a greatest infection rate. But we've moved now where you can buy alcohol during the week, just not over weekends. And it's kind of come down a bit, and, there's a sense of it reducing. So anyway, coming back to where I stay. So we live about 35 kilometers outside of the center of Johannesburg to the south. So it's almost due south of Johannesburg. I would describe our kind of neighborhood as peri-urban. So in South Africa, we refer to them as small holdings, which are they're small agricultural holdings. So they are zoned for agricultural use. People can, do small-scale farming, but a lot of people have things like horses. So, we've got enough space. We don't have horses, but that's the kind of neighborhood. I guess what's relevant to that is that we're quite distant from other people. When we're at home, we don't see people. We see cars going up and down the road. We have a few close friends in the neighborhood who we see every so often. We have a local supermarket. That's predominantly where we buy our food. There's like a little town center there. So the implication of that is that I don't live in a highly densely populated area, which is brilliant. I mean, it's quiet. We love it. And throughout this pandemic, we haven't really stressed too much because, we're not really exposed to people. And predominantly, you're going to catch the virus from other people. So, anyway, so my one other circumstance is that I have 2 kids who live with us, but this is my second relationship, and I have 2 other kids. My oldest son is an architect. He's completing his master's degree currently. So he should be able to register as a professional architect within a couple of years. He runs his own practice. He's got he's brilliant. And then I have a son who's a couple of years younger than him, which is Kai. Kai has been diagnosed as autistic, but I guess as with a lot of autistic children, that diagnosis is variable. He has a particular case, and of course he's his own person. So he has but he's a wonderful person actually. Over the last, I don't know, couple of year at least, he and I have a regular Friday date, because his circumstance is that while he lives with his mom and his older brother, he lives separately. They've got a place where there's like a garden flat. So it's a completely self-contained flatlet. He lives independently, and he works at the South African Military Museum. He does that about 3 days a week. Anyway, Fridays we normally go through to, I come through, I fetch him from work mid-morning, and well, at the end of the morning, and we go shopping to get his supplies, and then we normally go out for lunch. So I mean, that's probably the greatest contact that I have outside our home, with the exception of a few business. I've got involved with a friend's company, helping him manage his developer team. So while most of our work is online, I do occasionally go through there when we need to have face-to-face meetings, when we need to go through a little bit more extensive planning, more discussion around issues related to client projects. And that's kind of it. Okay. I think at this point that's my intro. So I'm going to cut it here, and then I'm going to jump over to another video. Then I'll start talking about my actual COVID experience, kind of where I am now, okay, how it's begun, because I have a sense it's right at the beginning. I'll see you now. Cheers.